Hello there, Drew Hanish of Whiskey Lore, best-selling author of Whiskey Lore's Travel Guide to Experiencing Kentucky Bourbon. If you are looking to take a trip to Kentucky, I got all the... Actually, here, I'll show it to you just real quick before we get into our tasting. Do a profile of all the different distilleries that tell you all about each one of them and helps you understand my 3 reasons to visit and my tasting experience there and everything else. So you can find that on Amazon. It is on sale at the moment, so good time to go get that book. Okay, now let's get into doing a tasting of a whiskey here that may be a little hard for you to find, but if you're ever out west, this is one that I really think is worth checking out. It is called, it's the whiskey with a funny name. For the woman with a funny name. A lot of funny names, actually. Big Nose Kate, and as you notice, Kate's nose is not really oversized. So why would they call her Big Nose Kate? Well, because she seemed to stick her nose into everybody's business. She was the common law wife of Doc Holliday. That's probably where you know her name from. And a woman named Melissa Heim actually was tasked with creating a personality blend that would exude in its tasting the personality of Big Nose Kate. Now, I've seen the name Big Nose Kate before, and of course, if you watch any of the movies about Tombstone or that era, anything about Doc Holliday, you're gonna bump into her name. If you go to Tombstone, Arizona, you're going to see a bar with her name on it. She did not own that bar. That is a bar that just took on her name over time. She did own a dance hall in Santa Fe, New Mexico, but she was basically, well, she was a lady of the evening, to put it plainly. That was one of her occupations. She's Hungarian. She came to the United States. Interesting history that and I didn't know this, that Mexico used to have an emperor, Maximilian the First, and rumor has it that her family came over because her father was a doctor and was hired to be his personal physician, but things didn't work out. Is this true? Don't really know. If you want to learn more about Big Nose Kate, I actually had Melissa on as a guest on Whiskey Lore, the interviews, and she was a fascinating guest, and she talks all about how she blended this whiskey and about her appreciation for Big Nose Kate. So, let's dive right into this whiskey. And the thing is that this is not a bourbon at all, actually. Hard to say what you would call this. It's been blended, so we'll just call it a blended whiskey. But there's only 2 different types of grain that they focused on in the mash bill. So it is rye and malted barley. So we got 52.4% rye and then 47.6% malted barley. And what Melissa did was she went out and she found 3 different whiskeys that she really appreciated and then worked to blend them together. One came from Indiana. We're going to guess that probably came from MGP because that's a pretty large distillery that does make a rye and malted barley whiskey. Then the one in Virginia, I'm just going to guess that that actually is a little bit tougher unless I have to go back and look at my notes. I was thinking Virginia Distillery is where that came from, but now I'm getting a little bit confused. It's been a while since I've done that interview, and I'm just thinking rye. Wait a second. Okay, malted barley. What is it? So, all right, mystery on Virginia. guessing that the Texas distillery that she got the blend from is probably Balcones, but anyway, speculation on my part. And so all we're going to do is we're going to take this blend that she came up with and we're going to nose it and taste it and treat it as Big Nose Kate rather than a amalgamation of 3 different rye whiskeys from 3 completely different regions. Oh, this has that earthy, herbally rye that I love. And this is where I tell people, rye is not aggressive, at least as far as I've seen, until it's matched with corn. And there's no corn in this. So what you're going to end up with is you're going to get more of the essence of the rye, the true essence of the rye, without all the burn that you get when you mix it with corn. And I know a lot of people will probably say, oh, blended whiskey, you know. Honestly, my opinion has changed on that, especially for American bourbons, what Old Dominick is doing right now, and what I've tasted here with Big Nose Kate. I am really impressed with how blends are being put together, and Widow Jane, that's another good example. So blending doesn't necessarily mean inferior. What it means is that it's now to the skill of the blender. And this is really done nicely. There's a fresh, lemony citrus smell that comes in on this. Just a very pleasant nose. Do you love lemon meringue pie? It brings a little bit of pepper on the end, but just light. And this lemony, lemon drop thing happens at the end. It goes from lemon meringue to lemon drop. If you really like that lemony flavor, this is it. This is the whiskey. I don't think I've ever had a whiskey that nails lemon as well as this does. And so it's really interesting when you first have it on your nose, you're like, okay, this is going to be very rye heavy. In fact, yeah, the lemon is there, but I almost get like a little bit of an orange note there as well on the nose, but it goes full-blown lemon from that point on and is really, really nice. Yeah, I think this is a very good whiskey. I'm very happy that I got introduced to this. I live on the East Coast, so it's not a whiskey that I could easily get. It doesn't ship across the United States. You're going to have to go to New Mexico or somewhere around that area to pick this up, but I highly recommend it. I think it is a really nice whiskey, especially if you like the tasting notes that I just gave to you. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, go ahead and like the video. That tells me that you appreciated it, helps other people find the video. And if you subscribe, then I will give you more history and more background on these whiskeys and also tasting notes on top of that. Until next time, nice. Cheers and Slán Dua. A little grain in there too. Oh, nice.